coming tonight. So yeah, we really don't have a lot of time tonight actually, because tonight is the monthly inner Zoom. So that starts at 8 p.m. So at about 7:30 we are going to be cutting off this live. And so there is still a couple of seats left for the monthly Zoom, and you guys can get reserve your space at daniellelipton.com if you want to join us. And so I like to keep that a little bit small. This way, every single person who joins that Zoom has the opportunity to ask their questions. So yeah, welcome. So we're just going to jump right into it. So one of the questions that we had today was, what do the star people say about pets? And so pets, you have to realize what a pet is. It's a reflection of your energetic grids. And so when we see the pets, a lot of times when you see someone who's a little bit older in their age and they have had a dog or a cat for an extended period of time, all of a sudden that pet, they tend to look a little bit very similar. And so that happens because the energetic grids of both life forms start to blend, and they get to such a degree in which when the energetics blend, this is also another reason why when you see older people and, like, say the wife passes away, the husband will pass very soon. That's because the energetic grid started the blending process, they're saying. And so when that happens, now imagine that your energetics are bonded. This is energetic bonding, which is a very important topic for each of us, because when we start to learn how to energetically bond with each other, and it forms a tight link in the energetics, and all of a sudden, let's say if your frequency drops, my frequency can automatically send you light ions, which then in turn will allow you to be healthier. And so that you're going to see. A lot of people talk about cord cutting, cord clearing, but we don't talk about what if we want to place cords? What if we want our cords to keep our family and friends happy and healthy and high frequency? And so this is something that many light workers are going to start to do. So the pets do this automatically. They generate cords and they're unconditional love, specifically in the dogs. The dogs are really unconditional love. Cats are more like they have a wider range of emotions, which then in turn you have to compromise with that cat in order to get that cat to love you. So it's not just given freely. So it's two different types of energetics, two different types of living organism, the star people are saying. And so just be aware of that. And it's just amazing. Now, there was a chaos energy update, and a lot of people were seeing weather patterns. And so by me, we had rain for the past couple of days. So automatically I knew that there was an energy cleansing and purification happening around me. But we also have reports of people with tornadoes and all sorts of nasty weather from coast to coast. It was all over the place. And so we are in the middle of it's a solar energetic shift in which Mother Earth is actually being triggered to release her density as well. And so when that happens, normally body aches, pain, stiffness, any density that you as an individual are holding in your energetic grids shall also get pulsed to try and clear your density, which then in turn allows you to step into a higher frequency range. And so, hi everyone, welcome. Yeah, so we've been seeing that. And the solar energetics are very, very strong right now, which is the reason why you may have even been feeling like there's just a lot of chaos happening across the coast. And so I see it reflected into all the people I interact with. So just be aware. Now, many times, just because there's chaos energy does not mean that you have to embody. So in my personal life, it's been rainbows and butterflies. And so I try and stay happy. Everything is good. Today we hung up Christmas lights. So we were able to maintain peace, and we even saw the chaos. So we witnessed it, but we weren't interacting with it. Now, attachments, and that's a very high level of topic for today as well. So we had a little experience where me and my kids, we went to Costco today. And so while we were in Costco, halfway through the shopping trip, I felt something. And I was like, oh, it's like, and the star people right away, they were like, there was a dark one around you. That's a lower vibrational attachment, but it's one of the darker ones. And so I felt it right away. And I was like, the second I felt it, I was like, we're out of here. Let's go. And so we started heading out. So long story short, when we got home, now realize it didn't really affect me. I'm still, let's go. We're going to hang up Christmas lights. We're going to have fun, right? And so put some cute Christmas music on and just enjoy ourselves. And so we're dancing, we're breaking cardboard, but all of a sudden, my daughter had fallen and then she had gotten hurt. And so a split second before she had fell, I had opened my mouth and said to her, watch the point. And so she fell on a point in the kitchen and then she hurt her back. And so why is this important? Because when a dark one is around, or a lower vibrational being, an attachment, a shadow person, they're different forms, but they pretty much all do the same thing. And so when you know that one is around, we are being called to step up and really do more spiritual hygiene on ourselves. So in my mind, I'm shooting for a level in which I do not have to do energetic clearings. I should not have to worry about protection. My frequency should be so high that I'm automatically protected. That's where I'm shooting for. That's where I want to get to. And so the more and more that you focus on protection, the more it's going to manifest that you will need protection. That's how I personally feel. However, when you know that there's a shadow person or a dark one, whatever you want to call it, when you know that one of those things is around and you get an eerie, creepy feeling, you should always just take 2 minutes and sage yourself and love yourself and bless yourself. Now, the second that my daughter had gotten injured, I knew right away, because the star people were like, there's a dark one around. This is the reason why the frequency between all three of us was able to drop to such a degree in which I had to witness her getting hurt. My son had to witness her getting hurt, and she's the one who got hurt. So the frequency in my house had actually dropped to allow that experience to manifest. Now, as soon as that happened and we recovered from that, she wasn't hurt at all. She was hurt, but she wasn't hurt. But the second that all of that happened, we went outside. I started to light the sage, because now they're like, you need to cleanse. The second I lit the sage, the end of the sage had popped. And so whenever you see sage and you light it and it goes pop when you blow on it, that means that there's an attachment around. And so just be aware. So whenever you get that creepy feeling, right away, light the sage. And I have sage in the car too, because when we go into the civilization, we're around the public, we normally light a quick sage, bless everything in the car. And so that's actually a really good practice too, because when you're bringing items in your house, if the item has been cursed, for an example, and so any human being can take an item and project negativity into that item. Doesn't matter what it is. Right. So we have good luck items, and like a rabbit's foot, people know, it's consciously known that that's good luck. And so, but we can take an item and we can program it with negativity. So when you're bringing fresh new items in your home, just a quick sage in the car and just bless the entire car and all of the stuff in the car. Now, scientifically speaking, they have, we take our little blue. Scientifically speaking, now we have seen what sage can do. And so they've taken sage in hospitals and in surgical rooms, and they have burned a thing of sage, and then they have shut the door, and they realized that all of a sudden there's zero bacteria in that room for well over 2 weeks when they do not open the door. And so that's very, very important, because if sage is killing all of the bad negative bacteria, and so we're using it as a spiritual tool. Now, when you start lighting it in your car and you start, saging yourself, saging your products that you're bringing in, you know that there is any bad bacteria and especially if everyone is so concerned about viruses and all that stuff, sage. Right. And then just allow the sage to do its job and kill off the bacteria. Now, they did smoke out the hospital room. So we're just doing a 2-second sage because we want to be able to breathe. So just be aware that maybe not all of the bacteria may be killed. Right. But just the power of intention. Right. So if there is any bacteria, thank you, sage, for making it so it doesn't harm anybody. So you won't manifest the experience of having that. Now, your Merkaba field is your energetic grid structure. So you're able to program that. And so the more and more that you consciously place your focus on programming the Merkaba, the more and more it will start to shift the perception or the frequency in the energetic grids, which then in turn allows whatever you're programming into the grid to manifest for you. And so many times you can take your Merkaba, you could say, thank you for protecting me against viruses and bacteria. Now, there's been reports of people doing this, and like maybe someone will sneeze and the sneeze will ricochet back. And so Billy Carson said that one on a live once. And I was like, oh, okay. So he's done it. So he knows all about it. And he's actually done the research on Egypt. And so he sat there and traveled and went to all these different pyramids. And so the research that he's seen written on the walls in Egypt tells us that the ancient people knew this information too. And so that's very important because they wrote about attachments back then as well. And so many times we had grimoires, and so, or a book of shadows, right? And so we know this is like pop culture, right? This is something that's on TV. It's not supposed to be real. It's actually real. And so this is actually one thing that I started writing down. So when I realize, when I sense an emotion code that is potentially connected to an attachment. And so with your conscious mind, now it's just a process of visualization. Every single one of us knows what an experience is, right? And so if we go through darkness, we go through shade, we go through trauma, what is that experience? How does it feel? Take that, how does it feel, and write that down. How did it feel to walk through that trauma? That feeling, that emotion code, that's the attachment's name. And so when you know the attachment's name, then you can kick it off of you. That's very important, because the more and more you start kicking it off. However, the star people are also saying sometimes their name is slightly different than the experiential code. And so you want to just be aware, and you can also call in the higher self, because the higher self will always grant you the information that you need to clear these things off for you. So when we do take time to go into the civilization, just be aware and just try and, spiritual hygiene and clear these things off. It's very important, because like, this is another one of the questions. If they can't mess with you, can they mess with the people that you love? Yes. Because you have to realize the way the energetic grids work. And so your energetic grid, let's say, for an example, the whole thing is clean except this little mark over here, right? So these attachments, they can see that mark. And so because they can see that mark, they know that they can push this button, because everyone has an insecurity. If you didn't have an insecurity, you'd be in your light body, you'd be completely healed. None of us are at that level. So each one of us has a little mark. There's a little area where they can come in and they can trigger you. It happens to the best of us. And so they can see that. And so if they are attuned to that emotion code, then that attachment will latch on and start triggering you. You'll hear thoughts in your mind. You'll think that it sounds like you, so you'll think it's you. Some people have complete conversations in their head and it's all negative. Those are the attachments. And so the more and more you start clearing them out, get off me, go home, then all of a sudden those conversations, they kind of become a little more peaceful. And so the more you place focus on attachment removal, your entire life can change, because automatically you're starting to raise your frequency. Now you must remember, have no fear, because the attachments, these things they're educated. They have high technology. They have families. They have real emotions. They're just not made of our frequency. So we consider items solid because we see it, we feel it, we touch it. They're just from a different octave. But that doesn't mean that they're not real. They are real. They're born, they're birthed, they have a whole life cycle, everything. And so we don't want to cause them harm. We do not want to send them love and light or send them back to the source frequency. That's what I did. And what actually happens is the thing will go up and it will hit into a light, and then it disintegrates into dust, kind of like a vampire. And we've all seen that, right? So now that I'm saying that, we've all seen the vampires, what happens to them when they're around sunshine. And they tend to burst into a flake of dust. And so that's actually what the Arcturians, not the Arcturians, what is the name of them? The lower vibrational beings. That's actually how they work. Archons. Thank you. So yeah, that's how they work. And so just be aware that when you send them love and light, then all of a sudden it is like, they burst into flames and they, so yeah, it's wild. Okay. What's the next question? Attachments in the public and their effects. Yeah. And so the attachments, a lot of times, if they can't mess with you, they will blast through somebody else. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your family. And so the attachments, let's say, if they just wanted to trip you up, they can go into somebody in front of you while you're driving the shopping cart and then make that person stop. And then all of a sudden you're ramming into people and you're having an argument. So they do things like that. They can also disappear your items. So if you've ever not been able to see your keys, and your keys are directly on the table right in front of you, but it took you 20 minutes to find them, that's an attachment. And so they mess with your perception. And so your perception, you have to realize every single thing that you see in the physical reality, it's a brainwave. And so your brainwave is being stimulated by whatever technology or whatever psionic ability that they are using, so that you don't see your physical item. And then all of a sudden you're getting angry and angry and angry, and they're feeding off of that energy. And so you have to send yourself love and light and tell them to get off, go home. And so all of a sudden they'll start disappearing. The second that they know that you're aware of them, they tend to run really quick because they don't want to get fried. So yeah, what is the best way to create protection? Once again, if you believe that you need protection, you're going to need protection. However, I try and believe that I don't need protection, and sometimes I need protection because there's a government guy who comes here and scares the hell out of me sometimes. So when you take a crystal and just regular selenite, and these things are cheap. You can get them for like $5, $10 in certain places. So be thrifty. And so when you take this and you walk it around your entire house and your room, you say, thank you for activating an energetic barrier and only letting positive beings inside of my space. And then I also take this and I do it in front of the cameras. Only positive, loving, care, and kindness is allowed to come through my videos. And then, if all else fails and one of these things are around, you just ask the people on the video, thank you guys for praying with me. And thank you for sending me love and blessings and protection. And so when you do that, then all of a sudden it's the collective consciousness activates. And then everyone is raising their frequency at once because the angels and the extraterrestrials are all watching us and helping. We have to ask for their help. That's the trick. And so whenever you feel fear, ask them for help. Don't be scared. Ask them. They listen to every single one of us. So get very comfortable talking to them. And so let's say, for an example, they're even stepping forward and they're saying, if you think an attachment is poking at you or trying to trigger you, speak to the star people. And so thank the star people. Thank you for helping. A lot of times they'll explain to you or they'll show you, okay, the attachment is allowing, or he's allowed to do this because you need to overcome that. And so you may have an emotion code. And so the attachments are always the gatekeepers into the higher frequency realms. And so when we know this, then all of a sudden, it means that if that emotion code is something that bothers you inside of you, then that is something that you have to heal inside of yourself. And that's the reason why there's a little energetic hole that they're allowed to poke through. If you didn't have that trigger, that hole will be completely sealed and healed. And so they wouldn't have a way in. And we take a look at common everyday bullying. And so what happens when someone bullies you and you respond with love and light? All of a sudden it diffuses the negative experience right away. And the bully's like, well, I got nothing. Right. And so the attachments, we consider the same thing. We just, thank you. I no longer need this experience. Get off, go home. And we send ourselves love and light. Because when you heal yourself, you're healing the grid, and then they won't be allowed to touch you. So they're only gatekeepers into the higher frequency realms, and they are not anything that we should fear. Now, with that being said, the government man to me is completely different than an attachment. Like, he's just cloaked, and he's like, I saw his military boots, so I know that's a real person. So who knows how that's going to work out. I know I'm protected, so I'm not worried at all, but still, it's kind of alarming when you see someone in your room. Now, moving right along. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Yeah. What kind of sage? I have a bunch of sage. And so different types of sage does different things. And so sometimes if I really feel the need to like smoke out the space, then I'll use a big stick of sage. And then if it's just me, I like the little wood ones. And then, they have different colors on the end. Those are the ones I use. And so like I generally just 1, 2, 3, and then I put it in a little pot and then that's it. It's really quick. And so you actually don't even need to use sage when you reach a higher frequency, because you realize that the second that you know the emotion code of using the sage, you're actually able to cast that emotion just using your physical form. We are frequency generators. And so any experience that we want to have, if you go into the tiny space inside your heart, you're able to generate the frequency for that experience, and then it will manifest into your physical reality. And so be aware of that, because you have to go into your heart. When you go into your heart, your life becomes so much simpler. And this is another thing this is another way of overcoming the attachments, is by going into your heart. You have to open that tiny space in your heart and really become in alignment with the source frequency. When you do that, then all of a sudden you'll start to raise your frequency, and you'll start to maybe you'll notice that time space goes very fast. So like me, I wake up in the morning, I put my feet on the floor, and wham, it's already 7:19 at night. It's just amazing. Like, my day flies so quick. And so when you start to come into alignment and really focus on things that bring you joy and happiness and peace, and then all of a sudden you turn around after you've been doing this for like 3 months, and then you look back and you're like, wow, like I feel like a totally different person. And so this is how this works. And really making a list and setting goals and setting intentions and following through. For example, the star people told one of my ladies that she could bend spoons. Then she started bending the spoons. She's up to 5 already. And so, but every single person watching this, you all can bend the spoons. Every single one of us can bend the spoon. Now, how many of us are going to actually go and get the spoon and sit there and focus on it until it bends? Each and every one of us can do this. Each and every one of us can change the weather patterns. When we come together in meditation, we can make large shifts to the planet and to the solar system. And The large shifts I'm talking about are beyond anything that we could fully imagine. So let's say, for an example, you wanted to time travel back into the day of Egypt. When you have, like, let's say you have 20 people. And so those 20 people, if you all take hands and you all visualize and you all are making it's like a soul contract, then all of a sudden you could change your frequency and the entire external reality can shift and you can change what you see in the now moment. That is the true power of humanity. That is what we are stepping forward. That's what we're trying to activate right here on this video. And so the first step in doing things like that is having conversations like this and admitting to yourself and talking to other people and seeing how they feel about the situation and just admitting that it's real and it's true. Because when you believe something, it makes it real because we are living in a holographic simulation. And so the second that you believe this, then automatically it's going to unlock your belief patterning and you are going to start to baby step a manifestation in which these abilities are coming to this planet and to each and every person on the planet who is 51% loving, caring, kind. However, the bad people can also activate them, but it's an experience. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? How do you program a crystal? I have them everywhere around the house. So I normally do this one. And so this is one of my favorite ones because it's here. And so what I do is each side to this crystal, it has multiple sides. And so they do have sexes as well. So if it goes clockwise, it's a female. So the spiral goes clockwise, or if it goes counterclockwise, it's a male. And so if you have a chi energetic imbalance, you want to look for a male crystal. If you have a magnetic imbalance, that's a problem with the heart chakra. Anyone who's had heart surgery or heart imbalances, that's what that is. It's your magnetics. So you want to take a look at the crystal and the spiral inside the crystal, and you figure out which energy you're working with. And so then you realize that for each and every one of the sides, you can program it. Now, if we hook this up to a computer, you can actually see the energetics of the crystal. And so when you say, thank you, Crystal, for protecting me, on the computer screen, you're going to see a little bloop. And then all of a sudden, you'll be able to tell that that crystal accepted the programming because the computer will show you this. Now, so we don't have the computer. We're not hooking that up. We just have to believe it because it's science and it's been proven. And so when you know and you believe, then all of a sudden it works just like anything else. Thank you, Crystal, for protecting me. Or thank you for bringing me abundance. Or thank you for healing any and all people who come into my energetic grids. Or thank you for advancing my energetic grids so that my energetic grids heals all people who come around me. Thank you for taking my energetic grids and making them 500 times the size. Right? And so you go big or go home. So pick some really amazing manifestations. And just remember, the way that crystals work is it's shifting your energetics magnetically as well as energetically. And so it depends on if it's female or male in the crystal. And so when you start to work with the crystals, it changes you, but it's a very subtle energetic shift. And so take rose quartz for an example. When you interact with the rose quartz, it brings you more love. So you may have a rose quartz necklace on, and then all of a sudden you may notice that people are hugging you more. Or something happens and people are being extra loving, caring, kind to you. And so the crystal shifts our frequency, which changes the way that we manifest into the physical reality. Yeah, that's how that works. Good morning. Excellent. Nice to have you guys. Yeah, I've had a couple different varieties. I don't want to smell like burnt old underwear anymore. Yeah. So some sages smell really good, but others are very valuable to use. So there's a whole list of them online now. What crystal do I recommend to enhance manifestations? Numite is actually great for that. And so it's a black crystal. It has a little bit of sparkles in it. Numite. And so this is actually the magician's stone. And I had really bad calluses on my feet. And so what I did was I took this and I was like, thank you for healing my feet. And it was healed in like 2 weeks. I couldn't believe it. And then I started playing with it at that point because I had unlocked the belief system of, oh, well, this is working, right? And so you only have to see it once. And then you see it once and you're like, well, thank you for unlocking my abundance codes. And now all of a sudden the abundance code's unlocked. So then you go to the next topic. So what else? Now I started talking about cleaning up the ocean. So I'm getting reflections left and right. I started seeing TikToks and advertisements and it's all up in my face, cleaning the ocean. And so apparently there's companies out there And I bet you it worked like a power of 3, because I told a whole bunch of you guys online, hey, let's do a manifestation to clean the ocean. And then all of a sudden, I'm seeing the reflection. So yeah, these are things that are real. And these are things that we can each be doing just as a manifestation and just by belief and by projection of energy. You have to remember, the human consciousness grid is actually what we're shifting. And so each and every thought that we have is directly connected into a magnetic grid that's connected into a memory grid that surrounds the entire planet. So when we have a thought, 3 people are actually having the same exact thought at the same time. And so when you're talking, there's like 100 people watching the video. So when 100 of us have the thought at the same time, because you're all listening to thank you, universe, for cleaning and blessing and protecting our ocean, then all of a sudden it's actually 300 people are having the thought, because it ricochets into the consciousness grid and it ripple effects out. And so you have to realize that that energy projection of your thoughts, it's a two-way stream. We're frequency generators and we can broadcast, which is sending the thoughts up into the energetic grids of the earth. But we can also download thoughts, and we're doing this constantly. We just have been doing it blind, so we don't realize that we're doing this. But the new science out there tells us that this is exactly how it works. Now, back in the 80s, when you had one of those TVs and the TV got scrambled, we used to grab the antenna. And so what would happen when you grab the antenna, it would fix the TV show. You'd be able to see the picture. And so our bodies is an antenna, and it is a frequency generator. So it's sending and receiving. Your conscious thoughts and your perception of and your intention. So what is it that you wish to get done? Where are you placing your focus? Are you placing your focus on something that makes you extremely happy? When you're really, really happy, time seems to fly. So you're going to activate the higher frequency ranges. And it's just the more and more you do it, you become less dense. And so density is what grounds us into the 3D reality. And so a lot of times when you start to make these changes in your focus of perception, then all of a sudden your intuition will fire up when you start to tune into less dense frequency range. And so one such example would be when you start to focus on your highest passion, all of a sudden you'll have the intuition to eat cleaner food. And then you'll do it a little more. And then all of a sudden your body is calling for cleaner water or pH balanced water. And so then all of a sudden you're naturally craving salad, and then you're naturally craving clean water or mineral water. The minerals actually supercharge your voltage. And so this is why you're supposed to be worth your weight in salt, because when you start to really pay attention, and you know what? The doctors are not going to do this for us. We have to be smart, and we have to pay attention, and we have to really do our own research on, okay, what are minerals and what food nutrients in the food that we're lacking because they're improperly farming our stuff. How can we switch the system? Can we actually get together in a community, and can we start to grow food for ourselves and open up local communities where we're sharing and caring? And all of a sudden, we can make big changes, big shifts to the entire world just by bringing together tiny little communities and taking control of what we want to eat and how it's produced. And so when we start to do this on a mass scale, we're taking back the power from the corporations. Now, Berlin actually did a study, and I'm totally like, we all have to have chickens, right? This is my new thing, even though it's about to be winter, whatever. Berlin offered their whole people. They were like, who wants 3 chickens? We're going to give everybody 3 chickens for free. And so they gave out 3 chickens. They figured 1/3 the population took the chickens. Everybody else, nobody did anything. So they found within the first month, 100 tons of food did not go to the dumpsters, to the garbage. And so they realized that because people had the chickens, they were taking all their food scraps and throwing it to the chickens. And so now they had less waste in their waste trash bins and all that stuff, just because of that one small change. Now, just imagine if we can share and care, and all of a sudden we are all coming together. So let's say one farmer offers, hey, I'll give you guys this tiny little plot in my yard to grow if you don't have space in yours. And then all of a sudden everyone is rotating shifts. So I'll go there Monday, you guys go Tuesday, and we rotate, and then everyone gets a little piece. And, when you start growing together, then all of a sudden that food becomes infused with the energetics of the community. And so everyone cares. Everyone's putting their blood, sweat, and tears into it. And then all of a sudden that food is going to be more, it's going to be stronger than anything you've ever eaten. And not only that, but there is like a survival of the fittest that we're missing from the plant. So when the plant doesn't have to survive, and it doesn't have to like fight for its survival, then all of a sudden you're eating a weak plant. When you eat a weak plant, it makes your body weaker. Now, if we took all of this fruits and vegetables and let it grow out in nature the way that the earth was designed to be growing the food, right? So it's not a pampered pepper. It's out on the side of the road somewhere and it's growing anyway. And so that pepper had to fight for its survival. It didn't have someone giving it care and attention and watering it. So it had to suck up extra nutrients to prepare and keep itself healthy, right? So when you start eating that type of food, now all of a sudden your body completely changes, because all of a sudden you're getting all the nutrients from the one who fought to survive, right? So it changes everything, the way that you were genetically coded. Okay, we are out of time. So tonight, I'm just really sorry it's a short night for us, but we are doing the monthly Zoom. So anyone who wants to get seats to that, they are on sale. And so you can go to daniellelipton.com under the monthly Zoom. So it's listed under the products and services. And I do want to keep it small and intimate. This way, everyone has a chance to ask their one-on-one questions with me. And then that goes for another hour. So yeah, thank you guys so incredibly much for coming. Anybody who has any questions, just feel free to go to daniellelipton.com and send them to me. I will answer them on the next live. I write them all in my book and I go through them all. And then I do offer sessions as well. So that's also daniellelipton.com. Anybody who wants to know who their star family is and sit down and what steps you can take there to reach the next level of your evolution, and then see what abilities that you have an attunement to. So a lot of times, most of us have many different attunements to different abilities, but it's usually best to start with a certain one. And so usually the star people will come in during the sessions and they'll do activations. So it makes it easier for you to unlock these things. So yeah, it's just amazing, amazing. Yes, you can still join. Go right to daniellelipton.com and just under the purchase a session. And then it's the monthly Zoom. So yeah, I'll see you guys there. Very, very good. And many, many love and blessings. Thank you guys so much for coming.